everyone. I'm David, the founder of Ultimate Survival Tips and the host of the Survival Show podcast. I'm glad you're here as we continue our 11-part knife making 101 training series with lesson number 4, 3 ways to shape your knife edge. If you missed lesson number 3, shaping your knife, click the link on your screen or in the video description to be magically transported to the previous video in this series. Now, before we get into this lesson, make sure you smash that like button so you don't miss out on any of the lessons in this video series. And go grab the outline notes and materials checklist for this course for free at ultimatesurvivaltips.com/knife making 101. All right, let's get into this lesson with 3 ways to form your knife's edge. All right, Joe, you did a great job doing basically the knife profiles out of the files. Now we need to do the edge profiles, right? We're gonna rough out the edge profiles. They're gonna be pretty close, but they're not gonna be completely sharpened yet because there's a whole nother process in the next video, right?
Right.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you 3 different ways to do it. Kind of like the old school poor man's way, right? Then we're gonna show you 2 ways to do it on the grinder.
Right.
Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
You wanna take the old school
Poor man's way?
Yeah.
Yep, can do it.
Okay.
Okay, guys, this is the poor man's way. And what we've got here is we've got a steel rod you can get from Lowe's, some duct tape, and a hardened file. Also, I got a 1x and a 2x4 here and a couple eyelets set up, and you can see that rod is through that eyelet. And out here I have our roughed in blade C-clamped down to the table. And one way to do this on the cheap is to, right here is about where your bevel is going to start on your knife. And you can take this, and you want to make sure that you've got a card for your files too, or a wire brush. Make sure everything is clean.
So Joe,
yeah,
tell us, so you have this set up at an angle, right? Is
right.
This roughly?
It's roughly 18, 19 degrees.
Okay.
And so you're gonna and you can see how this hardened file is starting to take and put a bevel on that annealed file, and it's starting to take shape as a knife. So that is the poor man's way. And then once you would work your way probably about a quarter of the way to the center edge, you'd take this off and flip it around on the other side and work your way that way. And then flip it back over and then work your way this way. It takes a little bit longer. I tell you what though, your bevels are really, really beautiful when you do it this way. So for very limited amount of money, you can set up a jig just like this.
Okay guys, I'm at the bench grinder now. I'm gonna show you a way that I like to not only rough out my edge profile, but also sharpen knives. So here we've got the grinder. These grinders are wonderful because you can essentially adjust the angle of this. So I know some people like to grind this way, and for some purposes, some reasons you would want to do it like this. Some guys like to do it like this for different purposes, like Joe did getting the knife profile. What I'm doing is I'm roughly setting up about 18 to 19 degrees with this foot on these boards. So we just have this board notched out. And how do we know that this is 18 to 19 degrees? So I'm going to take my speed square and a level. And I'm just going to set up my speed square here, set up my level there, and you can see right there, I'm right about 18 degrees. So we're all set to go. And the principle here is that it's easier for me personally to hold this blade level just naturally than it is for me to like hold it at an angle here or use a jig, which is actually what Joe's gonna do. He's gonna show you a simple way to do this with a jig that he has set up. So again, the basic principle is if I hold this at about a level, it's gonna be 18 to 19 degrees. So next thing we need to do is I'm gonna do one side, Joe's gonna do the other side. to do that, what I'm going to do is kind of mark a starting place for us so that when we grind each side, our bevels are basically going to start and stop at the same spot. Okay, let's get this thing going. You never want to take your tip off of the edge of this, or the bevel on your tip is going to not match the bevel of the rest of your blade. So you can see one pass there. Cool this off a little bit. Track the belt a little bit better. So one thing Joe and I were talking as I was grinding this blade is that these grinders have a plate that is straight. Joe has so nicely done a specialized plate that he's put on top of like the factory plate. It makes it really smooth for the belt to run across here, and that will allow you to get more of like a flat, straight grind. When I go up here, what happens is because the belt presses down some, you get more of a convex grind, which is a little bit stronger of an edge. Some people like them, I like them a lot. The reason that I typically do that is because I don't have this plate that Joe customized his with. So I'm used to working up here. However, if you want to take off a lot more material, this plate will do that for you. So basically what we have now is, it's roughed out, a little bit rough up here. I took it maybe just a little bit over halfway, and now Joe's gonna take this, he's gonna do the other side, try and match it as best as he can, and that'll get us pretty close to our rough edge.
All right, here is the third way to get your bevel if you're not quite as precise as Dave when you're doing it by hand. So on the machine, I've actually moved this back up to vertical instead of laying it down. And this came with a small platen, and I just added a piece of finished plywood to the top. And I can adjust that platen up and down, but I made that plywood wide enough so I have room to work. And I've got this set at about 19 degrees. So it's not a 90 right there. It's probably about 71 degrees. And then I have got I had this piece of angle iron laying around, and you can tell it's old, nasty, and rusty. But I drilled 3 holes in there, and I've got my bolts with the bolt head sticking out. They're sticking out for a reason, because that back of that blade will rest on that bolt head. And I'm going to get this set just right, and then I'm going to clamp it down so I have a jig to work my edge. So there's my jig. And now what I'm going to do is I'll turn the machine on. Adjust my belt because I'm working from the other side. I'm going to start my bevel in the same spot Dave did. Just like David said before, don't run that off the edge, pick it up. So there's the edge. And I've got to go a little bit further out, apply a little bit more pressure to the tip. There we go. Nice. So that's the third way.
Okay, now that Joe showed you how to do this with a jig, I'm just going to go ahead and finish this knife off and get the rough edge set by hand. All right, that should be good. I leveled up both sides good enough for right now. I think, Joe, we're ready to go on to the next step.
Yes, sir. Let's get that next step done and do a heat treat.
We've just taken a look at 3 ways to form your knife edge. Join me next time for lesson number 5 in this series where you're going to learn how to prepare your knife handle. For your convenience, I've placed a link to the full knife making course outline PDF with bonus notes and materials checklist above in the description or at ultimatesurvivaltips.com/knife-making-101 for a limited time. And don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any of the lessons in this 11-part video series. All right, everybody, I think that's about it. Until next time, I hope to see you on the other side. And remember, be prepared because you never know.